So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this channel named Geeks for Geek School. Today, we are going to develop again a very beautiful game. The name of this game is Apple Catcher Game, where we guys are going to have two different sprites. The first one is going to be a basket sprite, and the second one is going to be the sprite of a red apple. Right, so what we will do, we'll define a code over here on the Sublime text platform, which will help us in moving that apple from the top of the display window on which the game will appear, on which we'll be able to see all the things appearing. So we'll define a code over here, which will help us in making the apple move from the top position towards downwards. Fine, which will help us in making the apple move from the top downwards along the y-axis, and with the help of that basket we will try to catch it. We'll try to catch it in a basket which we will keep in the bottom, and we'll define a code with the help of which we can make the basket also move along the x-axis in the horizontal way. Right, so let's start with the coding part. So the first thing I would like to do is, let's use this Ursina engine. Let's import everything from this Ursina engine. So I think this is the code I can use for getting everything imported from this Ursina engine. Now after this we can have uh, this random module also. Right, so I would like to import this random function from this random module. So this is the way we can do it. Now let's define the code with the help of which we can get the basic window app.run. So this will create for us a display window on which we will be able to put our game view, define our game view. Let me just run this code and show you what this code is will give us. So I'll have to cancel the build, I'll have to rebuild it. I haven't saved the changes, that's the reason I have rebuilt it. Okay, so this is the display window which this code over here has created for us. Now it's time for us to create two walls right in the opposite side of this window. So what we are going to do, we can use a variable like this left wall, let's say, and with the help of this entity function we can create a bar kind of thing, and that bar is going to cover the entire height of the it is going to expand along the height of this window. So I would like to have a quad model that is quadrilateral, and the color of the walls should be green. What I am doing here is I am defining the code with the help of which I can get a proper boundary, a green color boundary on my display window. Right, then we can have something for this scale property also. So I would like to scale it uh, by this factor, and then let's define the position for this left wall. So I would like to have -7. I would like to have it at this position. Fine. Now let me just save the changes and run the code once and see whether we'll be able to get the a wall on the left side of the display or not. So yes, we are able to see a beautiful green colored wall on the left side of this display window, on the extreme left side. Right, so that is how you can put a wall over here. Likewise, if you want to see a wall on the right side, you can copy this entire code and you can just paste it here. And let's replace the name of the variable with something else. Let's have right wall for the wall on the right side. Now, instead of using this code, what we can do, we can simply create the duplicate of this left wall. So I am copying this name and putting it here, and if you want to change the position of X, because I don't want to see it over this left wall, I want to see this wall on the right side of the display window, on the extreme right side. So in order to move it on the right side, I need to change the X position, and that's the way we can do it. Let's build it on Python and see what are we going to get. So we are now getting two green walls, right, and they are opposite to each other. Now let's close the window, and it's time for us to define the code with the help of which we can get the apple's image, which I have downloaded from the internet, and I've saved it with this name apple in this folder in which I have this coding file, the file in which I'm defining all the code, catch.py. So all the files which I will be using for this game are present in this folder named apple, which is present inside this Python folder in which I have all my Python files installed, or you can say which all my Python files are there in this Python 38-32 folder. Okay, let's have this variable apple, and again we can use this entity function, and to this model property we can assign it this value quad, and it's time for us to define the texture, right? Because I want to access this apple image, so it is, I'll have to pass apple.png. This is the complete name of this image over here as a value to this texture property. So apple.png we can put here simply, and then let's define the position. So every time I start the game, I want to see the apple at some different location. So randomly, I want the game to assign a random position to this apple, and the position should be different every time the user starts the game, or every time he starts playing the game. So how can we do that? We can use this rand int function. Fine, simply we can put this rand int over here, and let's define this value. Okay, so now a random integer somewhere in between these two values will be picked up by the game window, and it will be assigned to this position of this apple. Fine, let me run this game and show you the output. So I'm building it on Python. Okay, I'm able to see this apple here. Let me run it again, and let's see where are we going to get the apple. So now the position is different. Earlier it was getting reflected at this position. Now it has come at this position. Let me define a value for the z-axis also. So I'm putting 10 over here. I think it will give us a more better output. Yeah, so right now we are not able to see the apple. Why? Because initially I don't want the user to see the apple. Once the basket is there, once the basket will be here, after some time when the user will start the game, I would like the apple to be visible to the user, not at the very same moment when the user will start playing the game. Fine, so let's have another variable with name basket, and I'm copying this whole code and I'm putting it here. I'm putting it here for this basket named variable. What is the name of this image? So it's with name basket.png. Let's come here and replace this one with basket.png. Fine, it's time for us to now define the position for this basket. So I would like to define a fixed position, a hardcore position for this basket. That is the reason passing 0 comma minus 4. Okay, let me run this game and see what's gonna happen, whether we'll be able to see the basket or not. Yes, the basket is visible to us. Right. Okay, it's time for us to define the code with the help of which we can make the apple move along the y-axis. I want the apple to come from the top, and it should start moving towards the bottom without any user's intervention. So automatically it should start moving in the downwards as soon as it appears on the display window. That's the variable I will use for making the apple move along the y-axis, and I would initialize this variable with this value -2. Now let's define that update function. So this is going to update everything, whatever we are going to define inside it for every frame. This is going to update every frame with all the information which we are going to put here inside it. So let's make use of this global variable first, global keyword first, and make this apple underscore dy globally accessible. Okay, now because we want to see the apple moving automatically downwards, so apple.y, that is the attribute we will take into consideration, y attribute, right? And let's put this thing apple.y, and we can have this plus here, and we can add this time dot dt. It's very simple. Earlier also we used the same code in the previous game, if you remember, apple.dy. So this will help us in making the apple move along the y-axis. Let me just show you the output. So I'm running the game, and let's see what is going to happen to the apple. So initially we'll not be able to see the apple. See, so after some seconds, the user will be able to see the apple coming downwards from this top part. Fine. Now it's time for us to define the code for for controlling the movement of the basket. So we are going to have an extra variable for this. The way we define an extra variable for making the apple move from the top towards the bottom. In the same way, if you want to control the basket's movement, you need to define an extra variable here. So let's have this variable basket underscore dx, and I would like to assign it this value 5, right? And then we can come here in this update function. Let's now, because we want to see it moving along the x-axis, right? I don't want the user to move it anywhere on the screen. I just want to give the user the rights to move the basket along the x-axis in the horizontal way. So what we can do, we can simply use this x attribute, and let's, if the user will press the right direction key, I would like to see the what we call it, basket moving in the right side. So we'll have to check which key the user has pressed. So that's how we can check the right arrow key. Fine, if the right arrow key will be pressed, then what should happen? I would like to multiply it with time.dt. Then we can multiply it with basket dot basket underscore dx. It should be underscore dx. Let me see if I can get the output or not. So if on pressing the right arrow key, let's see what's gonna happen to this basket. I'm able to move it in the right side. Okay, so the code is working perfectly fine. Let's use the same code. And I'm pasting it here. It's time for us to change the code, change this line of code, so that we can make the basket move in the left side on pressing the left arrow key. So that's how we can do it, I think. Yep. Let's run this game. So all this we have already done in the previous lecture. if you guys remember. And if you haven't checked the previous tutorial, I would like you guys to please go ahead and check the previous tutorial. See, I'm able to now move this basket. Fine, let me run this game again. So we are able to see the apple moving downwards. We are able to see the basket also moving in both the directions. But the moment, the apple touches this basket, nothing happens. I would like to put a check on the collision happening in between apple and this basket. So let's do that. So for that also, I will make use of this update function. Inside it, let's define a variable hit underscore info. So I'm using the same concept which I used in the previous game. You remember? I hope you remember that paddle and ball game, which we developed earlier. Before this, I think yesterday I shooted the second part of that game. So I used this Osina engine for developing that game, and I use the same concepts which I'm using here, right? For everything, whatever you're seeing right now here. So for this collision thing also, I'm using the same concept. So we'll use this intersects named function, and it will check whether the apple uh, collided with anything or not. So uh, this if this dot hit, if this condition is true, then what should happen? Apple dot x. I would like my game to assign it a random position somewhere in between -4 to 4. Means again it will go on the top and it will start coming down. And besides, I would like to change the y attribute also to 4. I think this is going to give us the right output. Let me just save the changes and run this game and see whether I'll be able to get the required output or not. So if this apple will touch this basket, let's see what's gonna happen. Okay, nothing happened. Why? Have I missed something? Okay, I haven't defined the colliders for for these two entities. I need to define the collider also, right? So we can define this collider as box. Similarly, we can define the box collider for the basket also, right? The way a rectangle is used in Pygame for checking the collisions, in the same way we use colliders here for each of the entities for which we want to check the collision. We use this collider as box. So now if you will rebuild your game on Python, so I think this time we'll be able to get the output. So the moment the apple will collide with this basket, it changed its position. See, it changed its position and it again went to the top and started coming towards the bottom. So we are getting the required output. Fine, this is working perfectly fine. It's time for us to now define the code for the score part. How can we keep a check on this score? So let's have another variable with name score, and let me just initialize it with this value 0. So it's a counter variable I am using here, and let's come up. Let me make it globally accessible, and let me make this basket underscore dx also globally accessible. Fine. Now what we can do, we can simply come down over here. So if this condition is true, then apple will change its position, and I would like at the same time this scores value also should get incremented by 1, should be incremented by 1, and that is the way we can do it. Besides that, I would like to see this course value getting printed on my screen also on the display window. So that's the function with the help of which we can do it. Print on screen, and let me just use this f string property, and apples caught. So how many apples are caught now? That's what we'll have to mention here. Okay, and we can so number of apples mascot will come in this score named variable. So we can define it here. What this will do, what this f string will do, it will convert the integer value into a string value, and it will then reflect that value on the screen. Let me just show you the output first before proceeding to the next part. But before that, we need to define some more parameters for this score thing. So we need to define the position at which we want to see the score getting reflected. I want to see it somewhere on the left top side of the screen. So minus zero point 0.8. Fine, then we can have 4.5 here. Instead of 4.5, let's pass 0.45. I think that is more appropriate. 0.45. Fine, then we can have the scale of 1, right? And what is, for what duration you would like to see the score on the window? I would like to see it for at least 2 seconds. So this is the whole code which with which we can get the required output. I think you all have understood this code. Let me now run this game and show you the output. So I hope we'll be able to see the score part also. Okay, so the apple is coming down. Okay, we are able to see the score over here. That is fine. That is great. It's working perfectly fine now. Okay. Okay. Now, if I will leave this apple, let's see what's going to happen. So nothing is happening. We'll have to put a check on this thing also. If we miss the apple, if the user will miss the apple, then what should happen? Let me define a code for this thing too. So we'll be using this update function only, and here we can simply put a check on this part, that if the apple dot y at any point of time it becomes greater than -4, then what should happen? uh, so let me copy this thing and I'm putting it here. I would like to see this thing getting reflected on the window right in the center. So you lost the game. Fine, and then we can have this thing. Let's restart. Fine, that's what I would like the user to see, and it should get reflected in the middle of the window. So 0 comma 0 we can put here, and then we can define the origin also. So let's define the origin as 0 comma 0. Fine, then we can have a scale of 2 for this, and for 2 seconds at least I would like to see this message getting reflected. Fine, I think we can run the game now and see whether we'll be able to get the required output or not. So if I am able to catch the apple, let's see what is going to happen. So the scores value is incrementing by 1. Every time I'm catching, every time I'm becoming successful in catching the apple, the score is incrementing by 1. The moment I will leave it, okay, so this message has come, you lost the game, let's restart. Now what I want is the game should automatically get restarted. So for that we can put some code over here. So score, we need to first make the score equal to 0, right? Because now once the game will get restarted, the score should again start incrementing from 0, and then we can change the apple's x position and y position also. So what I am doing for this, I'm copying these 2 lines of code and I'm putting both of them here. Fine, and instead of putting 4 here, let's make it 10. I think that is going to be a good idea. Or anything else we are missing? I think we are good to go. Let me just run this game again and see what is going to happen. So the moment the user will leave this apple, right, let's see what's going to happen. So we are able to see this message. Now what? After 2 seconds, the game will restart automatically and we'll be able to see the apple coming again from the top towards the bottom like this. So it is working perfectly fine. It's amazing. Right, now it's time for us to make the game more interactive. And how to do that? We can add some audio file to our game. So I would like to add an audio file first over here at this point when the apple collides with the basket. So with the help of this audio function, we can do it very easily. Now I have an audio file here with name third, and if you'll see the properties, it is a wave file, third.wave. So I can simply add third.wave here. Fine, let's see whether we'll be able to hear the audio or not. So I'm running this game. So the moment the apple will collide with the basket, okay, so we were able to hear the sound. We are able to hear the sound, and the game is now more interactive, and it's looking very appealing. Fine. Okay, let's add the second sound which I have with name lost over here in this folder. So its complete name is lost.wave. Alright, so what we can do, we can simply come over here, and the moment this thing happens, the player fails to catch the apple. At this point, I would like this sound, this lost sound, to be played. I want my user to hear this lost.wave sound. Done with saving the changes. Let's now build it on Python. Okay, so the apple is there. We leave the apple. We were able to hear the sound. Okay, so the game restarted and it's working perfectly fine. The moment you leave the apple, so that is how you can create an amazing apple catcher game. Let me now check the comment section. If I have anything to answer, would definitely like to answer that query. And thank you very much to all the students who are there with me right now in this lecture. I hope you guys are enjoying this one. In case you have any issues, any queries, feel free to let me know about the same. Please put your queries in the comment box so that I can answer your queries. Fine. So I am not able to see any queries right now in the comment section. I hope everything is clear to all of you. So this is it from my side in this lecture. Thank you very much for being there with me in this tutorial. Have a great day ahead. God bless you all and happy Dashera. Bye bye.